Hello folks, Mike here. Just got this in the mail. This is a Luxe 2.0 with the infamous grip frame leak. So, thought I would take this and let's walk through it together. No rehearsal. So we got a box within a box. We got peanuts everywhere. Alright. Well, I'm going to use a medium pressure tank. This is 600. 6 to 650. It's got 2 shims in it.
Battery level 75%. Firing mode ESP.
Alright, take the grips off real quick. Actually, it's got snap screws on it. You're not supposed to wrap these around, but just for quickness sake. Alright, so far, no leak. I've got it back down.
Vision off.
And already it's starting to leak. So it sounds like it's coming from the Noid area. Alright.
Vision on. Powering off.
Alright, so the first thing I'm going to check is the regulator. Don't lose that O-ring. These little bitty guys, I like to use a magnet to keep them in place. Alright. So I'm going to inspect this O-ring. I mean, it looks like it could be replaced, but it's got a silver reg spring in it. Some people that report problems of not being able to shoot 280 feet per second without the solenoid starting to vent. This sometimes could be the culprit, and if that's the case, you want to get you a black one. But before we rule this as part of the problem, I'm going to find my pick. I don't feel any tears or anything. Before I play it, before I replace it, I should say, I'm going to clean it. Clean out the channel. Inspect the reg piston. If I have any concerns, I'm just going to push it out from the backside. This looks pretty used. So in your parts kit you have one, but I actually have an extra one in a parts kit that I've used parts on. I'm going to get a little bit. Clean that out. Stick a new guy in there. Put a thin coat on there. Also, you gun guys, if you have any gun patches, I find a nifty little trick is to take a gun patch on my barrel swab, stick it on the front. See all that crud that's on there? Get all that stuff out of the rig. Handy dandy toothbrush. Make sure there's no fibers or anything in there. I like to roll a little bit on the Q-tip and just give it a little swirl in there. This nice light little coat. You can also use the same barrel patch and get the toothbrush. And this is the tricky part. Getting this back in there without sinking it down inside. So if I have a hard time pinching it in there to begin with, very carefully start setting her in there. Being very careful not to scratch the inner surface. But of course she's not going to play nice for the camera. Come on, baby. Oh, this is Murphy at its finest. Of course, what I'm trying to show everybody. Trying to keep the pick underneath it to coerce it to go into that groove while I push down on it. There we go. Alright, got her to pop in there. Sorry that took so long. Alright, now to lube that O-ring, I'm going to put a little lube on the piston. Just like you do your bolt. Stick that in there a few times. Now, I'm going to look in the little hole. It should go in all the way, and then typically I find you back it off just a hair, you can see the little holes line up. Make sure the screen's still in there.
Battery level 75%. Firing mode EFT. Vision off.
Alright, now it sounds like it's still leaking. Alright, so, tells me it's not the reg.
Vision on. Powering off. Now the grip screws tonight, or the
The quick grip screws are nice for getting in there fast, but the problem you run into is it starts separating the grips right here like that, and you start getting the grip to bend over time. So it's personal preference. I personally don't really care for the snatch grips screws, so, but to each his own. Puppies are in there. Alright, so next I'm going to try and take the frame off the body. Remove the 2.0 core. Before I get too far, I want to make sure I take off the eyes. Very carefully. I just give it a little side-to-side wiggle by gently pulling until it comes off. Alright, so I'm going to start separating this, but first I need to disconnect the solenoid. Alright, so the next thing I want to check is the O-rings in between the solenoid and the manifold, and I want to check the O-rings between the manifold and the body, and I want to check the O-ring between the body and the grip frame. So these things aren't stripped out. That's the right one. You can feel it start to grab. I feel it start to want to bite, so I'm going to, they do look a little haggard. Alright, I might not be able to get these screws off if they're stripped out. So I'm going to pull another Luxe apart and take off the solenoid and the manifold and throw that on here and see if that solves the problem. Stay tuned. Alright, continuation. Got the poor wife-beaten Luxe out for donor parts, and took the solenoid and the manifold off. And I also took the hard O-ring that goes between the body and the grip frame. Now this is the one that came out of this Luxe. It's really yellow, and when they look really yellow like that, they don't look very new. So I'm going to replace it with the one from the poor wife-beaten Luxe, just while we have it apart. Just going to get just a tad bit of wetness on her. Stick her on there. Now I'm just gonna get a tad bit of wetness and just wipe it across these O-rings. Not a lot of lube, just a little bit, just to make them kind of glisten. Got to really be careful with these solenoid screws. They're very, very delicate. Got to make sure you have a nice clean edge on your Allens. Or you will strip those things out faster than anything. You also want to make sure you don't cross-thread them. I can just tell right there it didn't want to set in there right away, so I back it off until I feel it click in there, and then start screwing it in. That way I know I'm not cross-threading it. And I just want to run these down until I feel them kind of snug. And if you're using, like this one has little ball hicks on the end, don't use those to torque them down. Use a nice, crisp, flat edge. You got to really be careful. I also find when using these little teeny tiny Allens, to make sure it's nice and straight, sometimes I hold them with a microfiber cloth. Make sure she's sitting down in there. Alright, and there's 3 O-rings there. Same thing. Just going to get a little bit, just wipe them across the top. If your eye wire's not sitting in there, that would be a good time to and this is the difficult part, getting it sit in there first. She's sitting in there. Until they're both in, I don't crank them down. I just run them in and get them started. Those of you that worked on your cars, you know, you crank one end down, then you have trouble getting the other one to line up. So I run them down there just till they're snug. Then get the nice crisp edge. And don't over torque them, but just nice and snug. And then I just usually just get a tad on my finger, just wipe the very outside edges. Then get your solenoid wire straight. Get that puppy started first. Then I like to plug her in before I get the solenoid all the way in there and in the way. Make sure it's facing the right way. Make sure your tangs fingers are all greasy. Get her set down in there. If you have any question whether it's in there, just get a nice little flat blade screwdriver and just gently push the very edges so that you know it's sitting down in there right. And slowly feed her back in there. Before you get her all the way in, flip her over and make sure your eye wire is lined up right and you're not pinching it between the trigger frame and the body. Now that she's sitting in there right, where'd my Allen wrench go? There she is. Just snug that. Eye wire in, get her setting back down in there. Make sure the solenoid wire's pushed down in there nice and tight, it's not kinked anywhere. Alright, let's see.
Powering on. Well, battery level 75%. Firing mode ESP.
Oh, the trigger's sticking. Alright, we'll deal with that in a minute. Never liked the violent triggers anyways. But let's see if she's leaking.
Vision off.
Get an idea how hard it's shooting by. Now looking at here, the bolt's not sitting back all the way. So, it's not leaking, but for some reason I'm looking at the bolt and it's not back all the way and you hear kind of a wheezing sound. So, now we've solved this problem. Okay, it's not leaking. So, we knew the problem was either in the solenoid or it was in the O-rings in between the solenoid and the manifold, or the manifold and the body, or that O-ring I replaced between the body and the grip frame. But we can't pinpoint it right now because I wasn't able to get this solenoid out because of that stripped screw. So right away, this bolt doesn't look like it's being pushed forward all the way. And I see why. You look in here, this spring's all messed up. Yeah, this spring is broken. So, these O-rings don't feel very good either. Good old bun O-rings. I'll change the bolt guide real quick. That's a bad one. That's a good one. Oh, that feels much better. Throw a little bit of lube right here in the very, very back. And stick it in there. You can see that O-ring smishing the lube, so get that O-ring nice and done. Nice suction. Alright, let's see where we're at. Much better. That's healthy. No leaks? There you go, folks. Alright, so we had several problems here. We had the infamous grip frame leak, which, first of all, I'm going to check is the regulator. Oftentimes the reg creep will cause the solenoid to vent. So we checked the regulator, that didn't do the trick. Next we checked the solenoid and the O-rings and ended up swapping out the whole solenoid manifold, which did the trick that solved our solenoid leak. Replace the O-ring in between the body and the grip frame, which could be another cause. And then we're getting that weird wheezing sound firing. So found the culprit, which was this broken spring inside the bolt, and threw a new bolt in there, and she's running like a champ now. So tomorrow I'll go out and chrono her and make sure she's hitting 280 feet per second. If she's not, I'm going to swap out this silver spring for a black one, and she's ready to go. All fixed. Thanks for sticking with me, and I hope you enjoy.